Then close to. Oh, he's expecting some return or with a desire for future results. Seems like it's the same. Some return or result. Or in a grudging mood. That's charity, no passion. He wants to get the result. He wants something in return. Or he has a grudging mood. That's charity, no passion. Okay, text 22. Adesha kale yadanam apatrebhyas jiyate satkatam avagyatam tamasam dharja. Tamasam dharja. Translation. And charity performed in an improper place and time and given to unworthy persons without respect and with contempt is charity more than ignorance. And text 23. Om Tat Sat Iti Sarandesho Nirdeshto Brahmanas Trividas Mritaha Brahmanas Tena Vedascha Yagascha Vihitapura. Translation. From the beginning of creation,
The satisfaction of the Supreme.
Tat Sat. These three words are there. It says, from the beginning of creation, these three syllables, Om Tat Sat. So Om we already know is the primary syllable of the Vedas. And the Mayavadis, they say that Om is not the primary sound, Tatvamasi. So that Tat looks like Om Tat Sat. They think the Tat is the primary syllable, but Om is primary. Okay? 24. Tasmat Om Ityudahritya Yagyadana Tapakriyaha Vartante Vidanokta Tatatam Brahmavadinam. Translation. Then the transcendentalists.
Says, beginning always with Om to attain the Supreme.
You know, so they start. Om Vigyan Om Tat Sat. Bhagavate Vasudevana. That's the primary sound vibration of the Vedas. It's the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. Okay? And that was, which text was that? So yeah, we do 25. Let's do, this will be the final one. Tad ityana visandhaya alam yagya tapakriyaha dhanakriya vivida priyante moksha kangshivi. Translation. One should perform sacrifice, penance, and charity.
The word Tat, purpose of sacrifice, is to get free from the material pain.
Let's go back to text 15. Here's the her part. Stereo speech, go ahead.
Such a way as to educate the mind of others. Of course, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students, but such a teacher should not speak to others who are not his students if he will agitate their minds. This is penitent as far as talking. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. When speaking in spiritual circles, one's statements must be upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talks should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive highest benefit in non-living society. There is a limitless stock of very little, and one should study this. This is called patterns of speech.
Does anybody have any realizations on this first?
I think it's too.
Hare Krishna. Shri Gaur Nitai ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So I think what Maharaj just mentioned, and also the speech does matter, and it is given here that one should not speak in such a way that would agitate the minds of others. And also there is a Sanskrit verse which states that Satyam Vadet, Priyam Vadet. So therefore, whatever we speak should be truthful, and it must not agitate the mind of others, but at the same time we must speak the truth and telling them in such a way so that it would create a long-term impact on the individual. So, for example, even if you have to give the philosophy, it must be with the idea of the boxer sponge, which is embedded within a velvet glove. So, the analogy goes like this. Let's say if you want to give a punch. So, you have the boxer's gloves, and the boxer's gloves would directly, if that is used to hit a person, it would hit hard. But instead, if it is wound within the velvet glove, the impact would be a little reduced, and even the person who is taking the shot will feel as if it's going to be rather I would say he would not take it disheartened, or he would not get disheartened. So therefore, whenever we tend to give philosophy, it has to be strong one, but with a velvety cover, which would ensure that the receiver would take it well. So, yeah.
I have a question. In regards to this velvet glove analogy, I was wondering if I forgot what I was going to ask. I can't remember. Okay, we can continue. You want to continue?
Maybe just a quick point that See, it is also a penance to regulate our speech. Because as human beings, we have got the ability to speak. But what are we speaking? What is a matter of discussion? Is also a point of contention. So, therefore, discussing about Lord, His pastimes, devotees would help us, I would say, elevate the consciousness. But any kind of mundane talk can eventually put us into the clutches of the material existence. So, yeah. So, therefore, it's also said that there is a limitless stock of Vedic literature and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. So, I think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also happened to tell Grame Katha na sunibe. So, yeah, one has to essentially try to avoid worldly talks to the best extent possible. And yeah, so that would keep an individual away from being triggered by the modes of material nature at first place. And instead, if one could surround oneself with devotees who always chant the holy names of Lord, so yeah, so there will be an external motivation through which the association would have its own impact to play, and the individual soul or the Jivatma would be constantly driven to think about the Lord. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
No. No. Okay. Sure, you don't have any more? Okay. Just read them. Text 16. And serenity, simplicity, gravity, self-control, and purity of thought are the austerities of the mind. Purport. To make the mind austere is to detach it from sense gratification. It should be so trained that it can be always thinking of doing good for others. The best training for the mind is gravity in thought. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. To purify one's nature is to become Krishna conscious. Satisfaction of the mind can be attained only by taking the mind away from thoughts of sense enjoyment. So I thought I'm going to speak a few things while I'm reading. So this sentence that talks about the best training for the mind is gravity in thought. One should not deviate from Krishna consciousness and must always avoid sense gratification. So sense gratification means or Krishna consciousness means always thinking about Krishna, always talking about Krishna, always hearing about Krishna, always praying to Krishna. There are 9 processes of devotional service, of which hearing and chanting are the praying is one of them. Personally, I like to pray to Krishna because I don't have that much intelligence to discern what is spirit and matter. So I have to ask for help for that in that regard. So personally, praying is a really big, upliftment for me. It's a very, it's a nice asset. So, yeah, so always thinking about God, always talking about God, always engaging in devotional service, always doing something for God's pleasure, always doing something that will make us think about God, because at the end of the day, we are all God's servants. We are all servants of God. We're all children of God. So naturally, it's natural for us to think about. It's just a natural thing to be interested in God. Like God is the most amazing thing in the world, in everything. He's the best at everything. He's the most kind. He's the most loving. He's the best listener. He's everything to us. So it's natural for us to be naturally inquisitive, to know, like, okay, who is this person that's like such an amazing person. Like we didn't know before we came here that he was a person, but now we know he's a person. And that's not all that there is about him. There's so much about Krishna that um that we can learn about him. I mean, like Prabhupada said in the previous purport, there's a limitless stock of Vedic literature. So yeah, us learning about him is like, it's not just something like Prabhupada says in one of his purports, that book knowledge without realization is simply a waste of time. So these translations, this Sanskrit and these purports, they're not just for us to, okay, I know this, so now I should tell you this. And it's not like a cut and dry thing. It's more of like when we're preaching, it's more like, I think I was thinking of something. I don't know what I was thinking of. I can't remember. Yeah, I think maybe purifying ourselves. No, it's meant to give us appreciation for God. It's meant to give us appreciation for Krishna, because like I said earlier, God is ultimately the most interesting. He's the most interesting person in all of creation, in all of the material creation, and all of this. I wouldn't want to say spiritual creation, because that's eternal, but he's the most interesting person ever, and so this is how we should become grave in thinking and talking and things like that. We should naturally be interested in Krishna, and this comes from just purification. Just sticking with the process, chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds a day, following the 4 regulative principles every day, taking only Krishna prasadam, going to the programs. I mean, it's a lot. There's a lot of regulations in Krishna consciousness, but it starts off with 16 rounds and 4 regulative principles. If you can start doing that, then you can become, then little by little you can then little by little you'll be able to come to the programs, and then little by little you'll be able to offer all your food to Krishna, and then little by little you might even go on book distribution for a few days out of the week, and then you'll go on book distribution for the whole week, and then you might give classes, and then you might cook for Krishna, and then like this, more and more, there's more responsibility that's given to us the more we sincerely chant. And not even that, like we it's not I've noticed this, like it's not even that we have to get, okay, so Krishna is always watching our actions. And it's not just Krishna, but all of his devotees as well. So, like, it's said that Tulsi Maharani, when there is devotion in a temple environment, then she grows very naturally. She grows very lusciously and very opulently. So it's not just Krishna that sees us; it's also his devotees, his very exalted saints. I've found that for myself, I found that if I think of Krishna as like God, like this amazing person who I need to find out more about, and then I think of his devotees as saints, all of his devotees, even the neophytes and even the up to the Uttamadhikaris, everyone, even the people we approach on Sankirtan, they're all saints. Now, I'm not saying I see everyone like that, but I'm trying to see everyone as a saint because that's the way Krishna wants us to see everyone. He wants us to see it. He wants us to, at least the devotees. He wants us to see the devotees all as saints, because they have so many good qualities. They have so many talents. They have so much tolerance for us. They have so much. They have everything. They have so much everything. They're the most special people in all of the world.
I think, therefore, devotees are called as, or they're termed as the wish fulfilling trees. The wish fulfilling trees, like Vansha Kalpatarupasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, yeah, certainly, because that's the quality and the nature of a true Vaishnava, to work for the welfare of the humanity. And the greatest welfare is sharing the science of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also very essentially emphasized on the fact that Hare Namena Kevalam Kalo Nasteva Gatiranyatha. So in this age of Kali, the chanting of the holy name is the only way, is the only way, is the only way. There's no other alternative. So even if you could look at the symbolic reference, the term no other way is emphasized 3 times. So it could have just been told even once. But the reason it is being emphasized 3 times is to give the due importance to the power and the potency of the holy name and the miracles that it can bring about in an individual's consciousness and life altogether. So yeah, so that's something amazing. And as you rightly pointed out, following the 4 regulative principles is a basic benchmark, which will at least set tone, or it will provide us that platform from which we can work further and work towards the process of cleansing our heart. And as it is told that the way external cleanliness is required, similarly there's also need to have internal cleanliness. And so what is the mechanism to cleanse ourselves internally? And the process is the chanting of the holy name. As we all know that everyone is looking for happiness, some know, some do not, but ultimately that's the objective of everyone. Even an ant is looking for the happiness. It's trying to find happiness in the small piece of sugar which it is trying to accumulate, and then become happy. So the very nature of soul is Ananda. That is, it is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. That means that this constitutional position cannot be separated from the soul. It is there is a statement called the Janma Siddha Adhikar, the birthright. So it is the birthright. When I say the birthright, meaning which is essentially the integral part or the quality which every soul possesses. And that's the idea of Satchit Ananda, the idea of eternality, blissfulness, and possessing the true knowledge.
What is it?
Possessing true knowledge, Satchit Ananda.
Persistent.
Yeah, possessing true knowledge. No, as a soul, like once one is soul conscious, then any bodily attachments or for that matter, any dualities of this material nature will not have an impact because one has already transcended the path. But when we try to identify ourselves with the body and then think anything related to this body to be me and mine, the attachment not just grows, but also it leads to the waves of happiness and suffering. So the need of the hour is to raise beyond the duality, and the need of the hour is to rise beyond this duality. Yeah, and that's the path of transcendence. And I was just recollecting about how even science and spirituality go hand in hand. Science and spirituality. So even when I talk about the modern science, it basically starts with a lot of assumptions and then they try to conclude something. And therefore, anything happening by chance is not a valid theory. Any cause must have a person who is involved behind it. So therefore, be it the creation of an intelligent machine, or for that matter, even a tiny, I would say, motion that is required in an automated system needs an intelligent brain. So in order to automate things, we generally see that a lot of coding is involved to make sure that the device performs according to its functionality. So to create such a small automated motion, we would need lots of brains involved. Then, if we look at a magnanimous scale, imagine the universe, imagine the planetary systems, how they are coordinated. Like this, in case if even if this planet Earth comes a few inches near to the sun, it would be really hot and the planet would burn away. And in case if the Earth happens to move little farther away from its orbit, it's going to be too cold. So therefore, excessive heat, excessive cold cannot be tolerated. And therefore, we always lie in that zone called as the zone of existence. It's called the gigantic zone or the Goldilocks zone. So how can such a perfect arrangement be made? There should be a brain involved with a perfect calculation and a metric, which would ensure that the Earth is rightly placed in the given orbit. So all these things would mean that there is always a brain, a superior brain involved, and that's how the origin of all this takes us to the very idea that there is a creator for the creation what we see in front of us. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you done? How many? 8:14. We have 6 minutes left. Do you have any questions, Ajit Prabhu? Or do you have any other comments that you want to talk about? All right. I really like those. Those are some nice points. I'm really glad. Reflect on all this? Okay. All right, so we can just read because it's only 5 minutes left. The more we think of sense enjoyment, this is text 16. The more we think of sense enjoyment, the more the mind becomes dissatisfied. In the present age, we unnecessarily engage the mind in so many different ways for sense gratification, and so there is no possibility of the mind's becoming satisfied. The best course is to divert the mind to the Vedic literature, which is full of satisfying stories, as in the Puranas and the Mahabharata. One can take advantage of this knowledge and thus become purified. The mind should be devoid of duplicity, and one should think of the welfare of all. Silence means that one is always thinking of self-realization. The person in Krishna consciousness observes perfect silence in this sense. That's cool. That's cool. Huh? Yeah. The person in Krishna consciousness Silence means that one is always thinking of self-realization. The person in Krishna consciousness observes perfect silence in this sense. Control of the mind means detaching the mind from sense enjoyment. One should be straightforward in his dealing and thereby purify his existence. All these qualities together constitute austerity in mental activities. Text 17. This threefold austerity, practiced by men whose aim is not to benefit themselves materially, but to please the Supreme, is of the nature of goodness. It's talking, the threefold austerities are, maybe it's before. And body, I think. Sacrifice, austerity. Text 18. Those ostentatious penances and austerities which are performed in order to gain respect, honor, and reverence are said to be in the mode of passion. They are neither stable nor permanent. Purport. Sometimes penance and austerity are executed to attract people and receive honor, respect, and worship from others. Persons in the mode of passion arrange to be worshipped by subordinates and let them wash their feet and offer riches. Such arrangements artificially made by the performance of penances are considered to be in the mode of passion. The results are temporary. They can be continued for some time, but they are not permanent. Text 19. And those penances and austerities which are performed foolishly by means of obstinate self-torture, or to destroy or injure others, are said to be in the mode of ignorance. Purport. There are instances of foolish penances undertaken by demons like HareKrishnaKC, who performed austere penances to become immortal and kill the demigods. He prayed to Brahma for such things, but ultimately he was killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To undergo penances for something which is impossible is certainly in the mode of ignorance. I just want to say this real quick, that even a demon like HareKrishnaKC, he prays. It says right here that he prayed to Brahma for such things. I think that's interesting because most of us, we don't pray because we think, like, especially in Krishna consciousness, this is what I thought at least. I thought that when I was practicing a few months ago, I was thinking like, okay, so this is a science. So science means you do something and then you get the result. But it's not like that. It's a personal science. So basically you're depending on God in everything you do. So you can do that. Just chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds a day, following the 4 Gita principle, that's all you need to do. But if you want more depth in the practice, if you want to really see Krishna's hand in your life, then you pray to him to to help you with various things. I mean, Radhanath Swami, before he even came to Krishna, Radhanath Swami was enlightened. He was liberated before he even met Prabhupada. He was a liberated soul. Yeah. So he realized the Brahmabhuta platform before he even met Prabhupada. He realized that he was the soul. And all he did was pray for 19 years. So this just goes to show. Huh? 19 years, it's not hard. Asking Krishna for whatever you need for 19 years, that's not hard. Yeah. But that's why we're in Krishna consciousness.
That's the determination, the faith that one has built.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes.